जी सर, प्लीज स्टार्ट।
तो सबको मेरा नमस्कार। I am Yogendra Deva, your host, and I welcome you all to this edition of the Academy Open House. Today is 10/10/2020, a special date, rhyming well with the ongoing IPL T20. This Open House is the seventh in a series of strictly 1 hour brainstorming webinars driven by you right from the selection of the topic. The brainstorming starts with your queries that we encourage you to start raising in the chat box right away as the presentation takes off. We will take up the discussions right after the presentation is over, but deviating a little bit and giving it a true shape of a brainstorming webinar. If you have something that cannot wait, well, raise the query at any stage. Deviating from another tradition that yes, can I request everybody to please mute their mic? Thank you so much. So I was talking about that introduction is normally given by Dr. Dhawan, the founder and chairman of the academy, but using my prerogative as a host, I am skipping the introduction part by Dr. Dhawan. This is simply because Dr. Dhawan would find many good words about me when actually there is nothing much. So I am therefore saving Dr. Dhawan some trouble, but considering his amazing experience and expertise, I am very sure that he shall have a lot to do during the brainstorming after I am through with my presentation. This is what Dr. Dhawan I was just talking about to you, that you got a lot to do. So that part will include rescuing me if I happen to fumble with replies to the challenging queries from the august audience today. I can see number of experts there. So for introducing myself, मैंने एक जनाब हबीब जलीली के एक मशहूर शेर से थोड़ी सी लिबर्टी लेते हुए कुछ कहने की कोशिश की है। जनाब जलीली ने कहा है कि अपनी तो दास्तां है बस इतनी, अपनी तो दास्तां है बस इतनी, क्योंकि वो शायर हैं, कहते हैं कि अपनी तो दास्तां है बस इतनी, गम उठाए हैं शायरी की है। इन माई केस मैं अपने इंट्रोडक्शन में कुछ तुकबंदी करते हुए कुछ पेश करना चाहूँगा। उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आप लोगों को अगर पसंद नहीं आएगा तो कम से कम इंटरेस्टिंग तो लगेगा। तो मैं अपने बारे में कहना चाहूँगा, धवन साहब, मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ अपनी मीटिंग्स में कि हम हैं मजदूर जियोलॉजी की है, हम हैं मजदूर जियोलॉजी की है, संग उठाए हैं, संग का मतलब होता है पत्थर, संग उठाए हैं गुफ्तगुए ज़मी की है। हम हैं मजदूर जियोलॉजी की है, संग उठाए हैं गुफ्तगुए ज़मी की है। अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ, अभी इसमें कुछ बाकी रह गया है। एक और थोड़ा सा लाइटली लीजिएगा। अपना जो हमारे जो यंग कलीग्स हैं हियर, वो बहुत सीरियसली ना लें इसको जो मैं कहने जा रहा हूँ। तो मैंने कहा कि हम हैं मजदूर जियोलॉजी की है, संग उठाए हैं गुफ्तगुए ज़मी की है, दौराने तालीम जियोलॉजी, जब हम जियोलॉजी पढ़ते थे, दौराने तालीम जियोलॉजी तफरी की थी, जियोलॉजी के सफर में भी तफरी की है।
वाह वाह वाह,
थैंक यू सो मच।
Wonderful beginning.
I will just say that geology is the best thing that happened to me, and I am having fun with it. So work is no work anymore, it is just fun. Anyway, having introduced myself, now is the time that I change my role from the host of the program to the speaker. And before I start my presentation, let me thank all of you for your presence here. I can see many stalwarts from the industry, my old colleagues and friends, and if I may confess, their presence is giving me huge complex. I'm really worried. But now there is no going back. Go I must. So here I go. And now I will upload my presentation. So allow me to do it. I hope you like my sharing.
मौका नहीं है, वैसे तो इरशाद कहने का दिल है.
चलिए साहब. Is my presentation visible? धवन साहब presentation आ गया?
जी जी आ गया. Please continue.
चलिए सर. So the topic of this presentation is rather vague. Even I have been wondering what is it. Well, jokes apart, the presentation is a compilation of steps and tips in the surface appreciation of ground, or in other words, field engineering geology, leading to identification of serious issues demanding special attention during detail engineering and construction. These are what I call goals. These are the goals. These are the serious issues. So I am aware I have an experienced and learned audience here today, and there cannot be anything that would be new to you. The best I can do is share my perspective of surface appreciation of ground that is based on my uninterrupted experience of over 44 years in classical field engineering geology. This should help keep a project on track. And finally, before I take off, nobody can predict how a project would behave while it is being executed, but a diligent homework can surely instill confidence of smooth sailing in design and construction team. And what is better than having a look at some success stories? We can take up the 350 megawatt Samira 2, an EPC contract that was completed 6 months before target. There is Kacham Wang 2, 1200 megawatt, completed it 5 months before. Omkareshwar 520 megawatt, 4 months before. Malana 92 megawatt, 3 months before. There is one under construction project of 51 megawatt Likhu 4 in Nepal. That is also progressing very well in 3 years. All the project components are over almost. So it will be also commissioned before time. And there are many more in the success stories, but the success can be in different ways, not only in terms of months. Now we can have a look at the trouble projects, the well-known. I'm just quoting the well-known projects. The 1200 megawatt Pune Sangchu. Everybody is aware of the right abutment slope instability problem that is challenging the project. Then Pune Sangchu 2 1020 megawatt, where the powerhouse has faced some serious problems of waste failures, rock failure. 800 megawatt Parvati and 520 megawatt Tapovan Vishnughat, both are facing serious challenges where TBMs are being used. Another TBM project was Dulhasti 390 megawatt, but that was somehow saved by burying the TBM inside the hill and going with the drill bast technology. And there are many more other projects. So what is the problem? Is it geology? Is it planning? Is it contract? Or is it decision making? Well, it is basically a combination of all these, but there cannot be, as I say, smoke without fire. So unless there is an adverse ground condition, nothing else comes in the picture. So basically, simply, adverse ground condition is the problem, is the main issue, and that what I refer to as the wolf. Now, what are the wolves? If you see in general, the main problems, it is the subsurface water, crush mass, slope and sidewall failures, the ground stresses, and the deadliest of all is the subsurface water in combination with crushed rock mass in a subsurface structure. Now, how do we keep the wolf at bay? My recommendation is, what I think is that the responsibility is to be shared both by the team geology and the team stakeholder. So primary role is that of the team geology, who has to flag the issue, who has to describe the implications of the issues, and then give the way forward by telling what is the investigation and management of these issues. And the equally important role is that of the team stakeholder, who must have an experienced review consultant. I will say not only for geology, for engineering as well. Then efficient contract document and management, and most importantly, expeditious decision making when in trouble. The projects I quoted in the beginning, the success stories, many of these projects were completed because the decision making was quick. Now, if we see this, if you see these roles for both, the cheapest and the most effective, and I will say the necessary tool, investigation tool, is the surface appreciation of ground. That is surface engineering geology. That is the most important thing, and it should be taken good care of. So keeping the wolf at bay, surface appreciation of ground, I will go first. So diligent engineering geological mapping is the best to keep the wolf away. You cannot afford missing major issues. If it happens, then the construction will go haywire. That is for sure, and that you are seeing at the projects which are facing main problems. And the mapping defines the subsurface ground conditions, and it is the key to all subsurface investigations, from optimization to interpretation. The primary goal of the ground appreciation or surface engineering geological mapping is defining the subsurface geology, and for that the engineering geological model which is developed is a model in which you embed the engineering parameters that are required subsequently for engineering analysis. There are two types of engineering geological models. The first one is the conceptual model. That is, they are the first ones when the information is not much, particularly subsurface investigation information is not there, and that is when these models develop. And later on, when the investigation is done, these observation models are developed, which give you much better picture about the subsurface geology. And these observation models, they keep on developing till the construction is over, because new data keeps coming and you can keep on modifying these. But for inhibitive costs, the practice of orthodox engineering geological modeling is yet to gain ground in India. The best option for us to prepare, select and prepare diligently geological sections, and besides those, three-dimensional drawings integrating geotechnical information are very good substitutes. And for these geological models, as I said, the engineering geological mapping provides the basic inputs. Now, if I in my own way, I have tried to systematize how the surface ground appreciation has to go. So I have put it as 4 main stepping stones. The last one is number 5, but that goes up to n number of times. It can go up to any stage. So stepping stone 1 is the regional geology remote sensing. I think everything as I told you, nothing is new. It is just, you can say, it is old wine in new bottle. The second one is the synoptic geology, but I don't think that this is appreciated and used that much as I have highlighted here. The third is the engineering geological mapping, and fourth is reporting. And last one is the stepping stone, where the geological models will keep evolving with more investigations and more construction. So first, I need not talk about the regional geology or remote sensing for that matter. I think the thing is that we must make full use of predecessors' hard work. You got everything, and because it is a desktop job, so it is very convenient. This is a sample, just a sample of a regional geology. This regional geology map is covering about 200 kilometer long distance from the site. That site you can see at the top left corner in gray color, where the barrage site and the powerhouse site are shown there. You can see both the MBF and the MCT in this, and this gives a very good picture about the regional geology. where the project is located. Then the stepping stone 2 is the synoptic geology. This is the very important aspect. That is the thorough reconnaissance by an expert geologist right in the beginning, identification of key ground features, illustrative documentation, and planning way forward for team geology. I think this is a very important aspect, not only for team geology, but for the stakeholder as well. Because if the expert geologist is of the view, so sometimes some of the infeasible projects may not even take off. I remember some of my younger colleagues, experienced colleagues, made a comment about Puna Sangchu 2 as back as I think 2006. Having a look at the site, having a look at the right abutment, he was wondering, who has planned this dam access? I will not like to take the name here, but this is what an expert geologist can do with a project. So synoptic geology is a very important thing. If you see some of the diagrams here, I think this is one project where the HRT is 24 kilometers long. And in this synoptic geological map, the main features of the project are shown. There is a thrust in between. On the left side, you see quartz biotite gneiss. On the right side in yellow color, you see interbedded quartz biotite gneiss. Interbedded quartzite and schist. At the barrage site, you can see a lacustrine deposit because of a natural damming there, and then you can see an antiformal axis in the interbedded quartzite and schist. So this gives a basic framework of the geology of the project on which the geology team will work. So besides going into the routine work, whatever they do in geological mapping, they will take special care of these serious issues which can turn into goals. This is another case. I'm very fond of Dulhasti. That gave me a lot of insight into engineering geology. This is a synoptic geological map of Dulhasti project, where you can see the interbedded quartzite and phyllite on the in the upper side, and the mica schist and gneisses on the downside, and in between is the river Pelio course, the deep buried valley, which created all the problems. You can see the HRT was straight earlier on going through this buried valley, but later on it was shifted after the lot of investigations and other things. I cannot go into all those things now. This is again a synoptic geological section of the project, where you can see the interbedded quartzites and phyllites, a fault in between. The buried valley is not shown because it is circumventing the buried valley, but you can see part of the buried valley on the right side, where a siphon has been shown here. Now, the photographs play a very important part in the synoptic geology in the beginning. You see this photograph I personally like very much, of course taken by myself. This photograph shows a flat riverbed on the left side, which is nothing but a lacustrine deposit formed behind a natural dam, which is shown here. You can see it. There is a slighted dip plane and the Zimingthang fault scarp from where the mass came down and blocked this river, and the lacustrine deposit you can see there. Now this is the Google Earth images. I think there was one time the GSI used to shy away from Google Earth images, but these are very important tools these days because they give you a bird's eye view and can help explain many features. So now we come to the geological mapping. I think it is already 4:19. I have to move fast. So I will say that leave no stone unturned, for under every stone lies a story, and enjoy the legwork is a boon reserved only for a geologist. And being methodical in data collection pays rich dividends. Later at headquarters, play with the hard-earned field data and do wonders. Engineering team and later the construction team would never stop thanking you. So do a good job, be diligent, and come out with all your wolves and give a way forward, and then the sky is the limit for your success. This is a sample engineering geological map. This I use basically for training purpose. It is a theoretically prepared geological map. It contains almost all the geological features, engineering geological features that are possible in a geological map. This is just a hint, a tip, how the maps are to be prepared, because everybody is sure about it. But definitely, to simplify it, I have gone into the checklist of engineering geological mapping. This checklist is good for our young geologists for going to the site, and also for the stakeholder when he gets the data from the consultant or the geology team, he can check these things, that whether the team has missed anything or not. And here I have flagged the components of engineering geological mapping which can lead to special issues, the wolves. I have put them in red. In this you can see that shear zone, fold access, fault, spring and slide zones. Other are routine stuff. So this was the common components. These are the niche-based value-adding components are there. Isopac map, which gives mostly for overburden deposit. It gives the thickness, piezometric surface, hot springs. Then these are the obligatory. I will not go into this. And the desirable. You can put a stereo plot. You can put joint set data in tabular form, JVD, RQD, spot value, compressive strength, Schmidt hammer, use the Schmidt hammer, and then the special features and special observations that will go in defining the roles there. And the photographs. These are the desirable with camera location and view direction. This is a very good engineering geological map prepared, I think about 25-30 years back for Indo-Nepal Pancheshwar multi-purpose project. And this map covers, this dam was very high, about 270-280 meter high Rockfield Dam. So this covers a length of about 2 kilometers. So this is a synoptic geological map. It gives all the basic features, and down below in the sheet index, it is divided into 10 sheets, and each sheet gives on a scale of 1:1000 the full geological map. I cannot resist quoting it here, that this was the first colored engineering geological map produced in GSI. It was in early 90s. This is the detailed geological map. The sheet index is given there. You can see which sheet you are looking at. This is particularly I was talking about that one synoptic geological map. The thrust problem was even there. So when this is the detailed geological map of the thrust zone, which was plotted as a single line, this is how it looks like at the site. At the river edge, at the river level, it is covered with overburden, but on the valley faces on both sides, this thrust has been picked up. It is a tight thrust, and on this basis, the behavior of the thrust on HRT was interpreted. Now I have given some tips here for our young colleagues, basically, even for review consultants also. They are nodding, they can use it. This is the stratum contour, which is a very important tool for projection or verification of planar feature on ground. For a reviewer, it is required, and for a geologist, it is required, because if you have got some orientation of a plane at the riverbed level, you can very well project the plane on both the valley, even if both the valley faces, even if it is covered under overburden. And in the sample geological map, the fault I have deliberately plotted, as that plot is infeasible plot. I mean, depending upon the orientation given, it cannot be like that. So I will see if anybody can fix that problem. And maybe DDAG will be sharing this map or sometime something like that as a quick teaser in our weekly highlight, and we will invite you to fix that problem and share it with us. Then the next tool is the geological wall log. I don't find it to be being used at many places, but this is a very effective tool for steep slopes, particularly when the infrastructure development takes place at a project. There are new road cuts, and the road cuts offer many important outcrops which are not found earlier on by the initial geological team. So this is one wall log there are 3 wall logs in fact. You can see that all the beds have come very beautifully here. I mean, you cannot see it here, but the photographs which are shown here, these photographs are shown in the logs. Their orientation is given there, and you can get the full information from these wall logs. I will take another example. This is a geological map along a road. You can see the difference between a geological map and the geological wall log. The next one is a geological log along this road, part of it, of course. You can catch each and every detail. The orientations are given on the beds itself. You can see what are the beds. Again, the photographs are there. And these wall logs then can be used as shown in the next figure. That is the starting from the data collection along road on the left side. You follow the arrows. The next one, from these wall logs, you develop the lithostack, the number of beds. You develop with the true thickness, develop the lithostack. Next stage, you tilt the lithostacks at the angle at which they are dipping, and finally, through this tilted lithostack, you cut the tunnel surface, and then you will see how these beds are behaving. This is a large scale map, but the next one you can see that this is a tilted lithostack which has been sliced at tunnel level, and you can see that this is covering as much as from 14 kilometer to 22 kilometers, that is 8 kilometer length. And you can see that there is a thrust on the left side, and left of the thrust, it is all gneiss on that side. On the right side, these are all interbedded schist, interbedded quartzite and schist. And you will find near the thrust, you can see immediately we are into a thick zone of schist that is continuing for about, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 kilometers. There's only 1 or 2 small quartzite bands there, and afterwards you get into the interbedded schist and quartzite bands. So the beds which have been picked up in the road cuts, in the wall logs, they are shown here, and the white portion, that is the gray area, because these are the beds where even the road cuts didn't have exposures and the wall logs could not be prepared. Now, geological sections, I don't think I need to talk much about it, but that is the basic geology. And I can just show this is one of the engineering geological sections. One example where you try to give the, integrate the engineering information in the along the drill hole itself. You can see on one side it is the recovery, on the other side it is the RQD, and the color boxes you see, these color boxes show the grade of the rock, what kind of rock we are getting there. You can play with it. You can put weathering grade. You can put fresh rock grade, and from this you can interpret the geology along these sections. But this is a typical engineering section. I have cut it from a full sheet because this formed only a 25% part of the sheet. 75% was the details what you are seeing here. So, but in engineering geology, because you are dealing with the design engineers, it is better that you develop simple sections which easily communicate the information to the engineering team. You can see a simplified. You can see that this is a project where MCT is there on the left side. There is another thrust. Initial planning, the powerhouse was shown where the TRT outfall is there. After this initial geological mapping, synoptic geological mapping, this powerhouse was recommended to be shifted upstream so that the inclined penstock doesn't go through it. It's just a bigger problem. It was better to drop a vertical shaft and then intersect this particular thrust along the TRT. This is another good geological section. You can see that from the log on the right side, you can see where it is about 180-190 meter length. The log is there. So this is that Kishtwar Plateau, Dulhasti. On top is a thick, about 400 meter thick bouldery over fill, that is fluvioglacial material, and down below is the lacustrine deposit, which has been overblown here to show that there were 6 horizons of pebble beds there, and there was 1 horizon where organic matter, recent material was found. So this is another geological. I'm sorry, I'm deviating a bit from the surface ground appreciation, engineering geological mapping. These are some of the subsurface, but I think they are good sections. The younger colleagues can, I think, get some good ideas from this. This is one geological section which was prepared during geological mapping, and later on, when the exploratory drift is being done, so that data is being plotted in this section, and you can, because earlier on when they were saying that this is a thinly bedded quartzite, limestone, slate, and chalk bands, in the because after the exploratory drift, it has progressed up to the colored portion. So whatever beds were there, they are shown here. So this is how, there is a lot of ways you can play with your data. This is a geological section of a very important project somewhere in Africa, where there was a top 4-meter thick bed is there. The weir was only about 2 meters high, and initial drilling was done only up to the base of the waterfall. That was just about 12 meters, something like 12 meters. And later on in the powerhouse, it was the head of the power, waterfall was used for power generation. There was some artisan blowout in the powerhouse pit, and it turned out that the rock was so massive, non-jointed rock, the soft sandstone, that at 35-meter depth, there was a weak plane, and as soon as that artisan blowout took place, this water started gushing out, and being soft sandstone, it was opened up. It was a very low abrasion value rock, so immediately it opened up into a big cavity. This is the section which shows that what is the cavity depth here. You can see that it is about 2 meter high cavity. It's a conical shape, explored through so many drill holes here. Anyway, now another powerful tool is the satellite images, that is the Google Earth. They are, if navigated and cropped images, give you desired views, and progressive changes can be seen from the archive images in Google Earth. And with luck, good quality actual field photographs are available. This is a project at the border of Rwanda and Tanzania. There's a big waterfall here, and when you are working on this remotely from here, so from the Google Earth, you could find some very good field photographs which were there. These tourists take the photographs and they put it on Google Earth. They are used there. So we are getting a full picture. You can see the Rusumo Falls there, and you can see the Mitako Basin, that is the powerhouse area. And this project, I think, we're working about 3 to 4 years back, and I hear that this project has been completed. So you can see some good photographs here. You to get from the Google Earth, a very good tool. And next I come to the isometric projections, expressive. These are expressive, they are scaled, and these are very informative. They are scientific drawings. They are not sketches by a geologist. They are to the scale. You will see some examples there. Like if I give this stereo plot to the engineer, he will, try it hard to understand what is what. But along with this, if I give the isometric picture, which is there on the right side, he can immediately see that there is a joint dipping into the right abutment, and there's a joint going across, which is steep, and there is one important joint which is dipping downstream, which could be problematic. Now this is another again from Dulhasti. There are 2 sections. One is the state section, where you can see the lacustrine deposit in yellow color. This is the original alignment, and the HRT loop alignment, that is the later on. So in one picture, you can see even in the plan, the intake and the powerhouse. In this section, you can see what is the geology along these 2 tunnels. This length was about 8 point something kilometers earlier on, which went up to about 10 kilometers. So you can see the geology, basic geology, including the fault there. all the features are seen. And this is, I think, one of my first isometric diagrams, I think about 40 years back. This is a big, you can see from the scale how big is this wedge failure, which is about 7 to 8 meters high wedge failure. The three joints which are making this, and this picture gives you a very good idea how these niches are there and where this wedge was located and how it failed. That it is a scientific drawing. The scale diagram you can see on top. These are the first ones like diagrams which we used to prepare early on in GSI. This picture is not good, but this is a very good fence diagram. And this is from a project in Arunachal Pradesh, 790 megawatt project. And this is based on the drill core locks. You can see they're given down below. The synoptic locks are given there. And you can see that there is a top layer, 6 to 7 meter layer of pebbly riverbed. And down below, it is a thick deposit, lacustrine deposit, and which was explored to be as thick as 100 meters. You can see the ground plan, you can see the notes and everything. And this is, if you see the pink color section, this is a normal geological section we give. We give as a normal geological section, but there the traces are given. It is difficult to see what is the relationship of these traces here, the joint planes. So what you simply do is you just introduce an isometrically projected floor plan, which I have done it here, and immediately you can see in what directions, with what orientations these planes are going and what is their interrelationship. So these drawings become very communicative for our engineering teams, particularly for our stakeholders, if we can say. So this is how it is being used, and you can consider it as a basic geological modeling. Now, isometric, for developing these isometric pictures, software are available. We know 3D drawings, you can make it. But problem with geology is that geology is more of a philosophy. So drawing needs customization. So a convenient technique is to use conversion tables. These tables I had developed long back. These tables are here. They are very easy to use. And like this table, when we develop a isometric diagram, the angle changes. So basically in the standard diagram, we tilt the diagram to 60 degree or 30 in the beginning. So 30 and the other angle becomes 120. I think by mistake I've given is 60 here. That becomes 30 there anyway. 30 and the other one becomes 120. I'm sorry, it is okay. 60 degrees is the angle between the base and perpendicular, so it is okay. And 120 is the on the plan, you get that. So this is the distortion in the angle you get. So when you are plotting anything, you can use some graph papers, especially developed isometric graph papers. You can straight away go on plotting this, use the values and draw the diagram, no issues. And there is a lens distortion in this. And so lens distortion is, you can read from here. You don't normally use it. If you plot this trace, you get it directly. But if you need it scientifically, you can get the lens distortion also here. So these are the two conversion tables which can be used for development of isometric pictures. Discontinuity data collection. I think I don't go much into this. This is, you can see, a very good massive rock, massive gneisses here. And on the other hand, a very closely spaced jointed quartzite. You can see it here. So when you are doing this discontinuity survey, pay special attention to crust and fracture zone details, orientation and thickness. This is very important. And then the discontinuity data analysis you have to carry out. I will not go into all this. This is routine job. Now I will come to the powerful tool number 5. After 4, this is the 5th one. This is the key block. This is the whole sphere stereo plotting. We know that the rock mass is made up of blocks bounded by joints. And a key block is the unconfined rock block prone to move freely. And if not restrained by reinforcement, it causes failure by liberating adjoining blocks failure. This whole sphere plotting skips other conceivable joint combinations and straight away leads directly to the identification of critical or key block. The technique is that a joint plane, any plane, has got two half surfaces. The upper one is known as is given by 1 and the lower by 0. 2 is used for a missing joint and 3 is for a repeated joint in a block. So key block surfaces, if a key block is there, so key block is defined by a joint pyramid. That is the sequentially arranged half spaces. Like if you have got 4 joint sets, 4 joints which are making up, you need minimum 4. If you got 4 joints are making a key block, so you will use these surfaces to denote which surface of block joint set 1, 2, 3 and 4 is making this key block, and that is denoted as JP. I think you can, this is the typical whole sphere stereographic projection. You can see that this is a four set of joints are there. So all JPs are given like 1, 1, 1, 1 means this is, I think, an inconceivable block where all the surfaces are the upper surfaces because it is 1. So there is a reference circle, there is a joint set direct projection. Then there is it is along a diversion channel. So left side slope projection is there and the right side slope projection is there. And there are some joints, pyramids. I mean, it's a technique. It is a full thing. And the best part, which the way which we have used it, is that these key blocks, which are the key blocks, and you have to provide the reinforcement by spot bolting or something like that. So as soon with the progressive excavation by JP, you can identify these blocks in the field. The moment, like an iceberg, you see the tip of a key block on top, you start giving the reinforcement. And so as you go down, if you have already restrained it, the other blocks will not be liberated and the slope will not fail. The figure on the right side down below, where that JP 3002, it is an interesting figure because this is a key block which is in the invert or the floor of a channel, of a diversion channel kind of thing. I mean, these are the blocks which normally you cannot find out from the normal stereographic half hemisphere stereo plots, which we do normally. But with key block, you can find it out in the floor also. If you see these blocks, so before you commission the channel, you can hold these blocks with reinforcement, and probably the covering will be much less there. Then I will go to the pictures. Pictures speak louder than words. Nothing much to say about it. Only thing is that you can see that these pictures which you are taking, they should be indexed properly with view direction. This makes the perception of the picture, the ground compression is much easier. And what we do is we give these picture positions with orientations in the investigation map so that the geological map is not cluttered with this information. This is the picture I think I have already shown with you to you. And I'm showing it because in this picture I told you there was the natural dam, there was the lacustrine deposit, and the corresponding geological map, if you see, you can see it here that the left side lacustrine deposit is there, right side the natural dam is there, debris is there, and you can see the shape of the river which is going. It is very smooth and meandering in the lacustrine deposits flat surface, and when it is going through the bouldery material of the natural dam, look at the zagged edges of the river here. And when we made a L section of this, we could see that the river gradient was about 1 in 500 in the lacustrine deposit, and it was about 1 in 2021, or 1 in rather less than that, 1 in 18 in the natural dam portion. This is a very good photograph of the waterfall which I talked about earlier on. This is the waterfall, beautiful. Now the waterfall is no more there. The project has been constructed, and you can have a look at the photograph of the powerhouse which is being developed here. And there is another story to it of the which I just mentioned, that was the artesian blowout. You can still see the water filled there in a specially created pond, which was continuously pumped out, and it was tried to be plugged through these drifts, which you can see here, but that could not be successful. Anyway, it's a long story behind it. Sometimes if DDAG invites me, I can come up with the case study on this. Oh, it is 4:45. I'm already late. So anyway, I'm just finishing it up. So this is another photograph. It is about some natural damming as it happens in the Himalayas. You can work it out yourself. You can see it, or you can see it in the recording later on. This is another project, and this is a photograph. From the photograph, the geological map has been prepared. The photograph has been taken from climbing up another face. The foot photograph is taken. It's a small project, about 5 megawatt, not much facilities there. So this has been done. Then reporting is important. It is an art, basically. And I mean, I think I have talked about it. Then evolving geological models are there. And I wanted to give some tips about this drill holes and these things. I will skip it. Only the photograph of the drill hole logs I will show you. The photograph should be like this, taken upside down. You can put an index on the right side where you can mark the run length markers, and the depth can be given so that when they are being when the log is being seen, the photographs can be very well compared with this. And now reiterating some personal convictions, I will say that start with synoptic geology by an expert. If needed, take hard decisions, skip a project if it has to be. Dedicated, focused and alert team geology. Dependable inputs for software analysis. Softwares are good, but garbage in, garbage out, you know it very well. A stakeholder to keep track of field investigations continuously under expert supervision, and better take corrective measures early on. And do what must be done, and the wolf stays at bay. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Deva. Thank you very much. Well done. आज आपने गागर में सागर भर दिया है देवा साहब.
पता नहीं सर मैंने क्या किया है anyway.
मगर ये गागर में सागर भरने का एक दुष्परिणाम ये है कि सवाल कोई नहीं है. जबरदस्त सागर भर दिया गया है.
We got some time. Yes. I hope I mean I have not bored them basically with my blabbering. Actually, I wanted to write in my last slide to thank you for putting up with my blabbering, but I changed it later on. I made it a simple thank you.
I think everybody must have joined.
देवा साहब.
जी.
देवा साहब, वुल्फ कहाँ गया?
वुल्फ का पूरी कहानी एक दिन मत पूछो यार कि पूरी रामायण हो गई, सीता कौन थी?
वुल्फ कहाँ पे है ये बताओ मुझे.
आप बताइए, पूछिए. और मैंने देखो धमन साहब को रखा हुआ है इसके लिए, कहीं गया तो धमन साहब जवाब देंगे. हाँ बोलो. अच्छा खैर आप बोलो
जी.
बोलिए.
स्वागत है सवालों का.
अहमद साहब कुछ कह रहे थे आप?
जी, अहमद साहब के सवाल पूछने वाले थे
और पांडे साहब तैयारी कर रहे हैं.
Deva sir, I could compliment you for a wonderful lecture. I don't have any queries, but I have one or two suggestions. In your checklist, I think you must in your future lectures add active faults, because this is one thing. You have added faults, but active faults should be added in addition.
Thank you.
One comment that I would like to make here is regarding the intensity of investigations before a project is finalized. I think the developers, particularly the private players, are stingy as far as geological investigations are concerned. They try to avoid many things, but specific guidelines have been issued by the regulatory bodies. If I take the example of geological investigations, the DPR cell of GSI has issued guidelines, but people are not very comfortable with those guidelines because it wants to investigate each and everything, whichever is there in the field. So if you are quoting that keep the wolf at bay, I think you mean keep the surprises away. So would you like to comment on this guidelines issued by GSI, DPR cell, whether it is too elaborate, too meticulous, too conservative, or it needs to be changed?
Pandey Sahab, thank you very much for this. Actually, nothing, no document is ever complete. So that, I mean, all the documents, whenever somebody reads, and definitely number of modifications can be made, but at the face of it, GSI has done a good job. Those guidelines are very good. So those guidelines must be followed, but certainly that is the bare minimum we have to do. That is the bare minimum, I will say. But there are many things which, as an I mean, you can do from your side. The value additions have to be done by your side, basically. And I think my presentation was basically on that. We know, I mean, what is done is done. So, but it should not end at the guidelines. So I'm basically what you are asking. I'm happy with the guidelines. There is nothing much to it, but definitely if GSI ever invites comments from old people, I mean from others, they can definitely be given. But if an institution is making something within the I mean domain of their expertise, then definitely lot of it remains to be changed later on. So you cannot challenge the government, it's as simple as that. But definitely, if it is shared sometimes, lot of suggestions can be made and it can be done. Like I remember, I made a comment also earlier on, giving a Google image in a DPR geology volume was taken very adversely. What is this? Why it is given? Something like that. So we have to. I mean, these taboos have to be removed, and we have to allow many things because geology is an expressive subject. You have to express yourself. Basically, it is not. It is science, no doubt, but much is left to the personal perception, and that the report, as I said, that thought and facts need to go in the reporting. And when you are doing that, you will take liberty and do many things. But anyway, that document definitely is definitely very good. GSI is a, I mean, what can I say about GSI? I have also worked there. Ahmed sir, कुछ कह रहे थे आप?
देवा साहब, GSI को appreciate करो. It was good, interesting. It was a good, I mean, 40 years experience which you have laid down.
44.
It was good to see all those. Yeah, it was good to see that.
I just shared my experience.
Yeah, it was full of experience. The talk was full of experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mani sahab, ko suggestions aapki taraf se?
Deva sahab, there is a question for you in chat box.
Yes. What is
Hi,
it?
Mr. Ajay. Sir, please share some isometric model of geology.
Well, I can see, I will just see myself. I can see.
And there are few compliments also for you. That
I
also I would like to read.
number of
Some isometric diagram.
good afternoon. Please share some isometric model of engineering geology.
Ajay.
Acha. Okay.
This is asked Mr. Ajay.
I think I mentioned somewhere that because of the, I mean, these examples are not from India because we are not using it. The cost is very, very innovative of this software which are being used. But certainly I can share some diagrams from the
Rockware can give you this isometric panel diagrams.
Isometric panel diagrams, as I told Ahmed Saab, that this software
Rockware.
are giving.
There is a software Rockware.
Yeah. I know.
That gives
What
you
I
isometrics.
There are limitations with these isometric projections which you get from there. But in geology, there are many. Like I showed you the diagram for the Durasti project. So two alignments shown in one diagram. So those things are not possible to be done.
Yeah, of
through
course.
this software. This is why I say you should use your own capability to develop these, depending upon your requirement.
Correct.
It is basically in engineering geology 3-dimensional visualization, and it comes from a dream. Once you understand the geology of the site with backup of structural geology, and that has to be replicated on paper. And in my opinion, that gives you a practical isometric diagram, and which is many a times is not a isometric diagram in the sense of strictly. But certainly that appeals more to people, and you can convey yourself to your engineer colleagues if you have developed some kind of diagrams. So there are some other questions. First of all, Mishra ji has said that I agree with Dr. Dhawan. It's a wonderful, it's absolutely wonderful. Then my own class fellow, Mr. Jain Das from GSI, ex-GSI, he has joined today. Although he expertises in GEMS and economic geology, he says excellent presentation by the master. Kudos to Dr. Deva. Many thanks to the dedicated team of DDAG for bringing such fundamental and erudite talks. Then Mr. S.K. Kalfa, he says, as usual, you have missed today the optimization of investigation. Kindly just have a elaboration on the same. So would you like to do that, Mr. Deva? Elaboration on?
I think that is your forte also. So you can just say about that. But I will tell this is Mr. S.K. Garg. And Mr. Garg, this presentation was not on investigation. This was on surface ground appreciation, that is field engineering geology. That leads to the optimization of investigation. So investigation is second part, on which Dr. Dhawan has already given a talk earlier on, but he can definitely give some elaboration. Dhawan sir, we have got only 3 minutes now.
So, Mr. Garg, well, your suggestion and your question is well taken. I can devote only half a minute now. You see, optimization of investigation is that you use your full resources, and even then you be ready that you have investigated only 50%. But certainly this is my favorite topic to speak on it. And there are, as far as status of investigation in India are concerned, minimum 2 to 4% of the total cost of project should be spent, whereas I have made a study wherein only 5.5% to 1% has been spent. And secondly, the result is that no matter how good investigation you do, you cannot explore. The optimization limit is 60%, and for the rest of 40%, you have to do something else, and that something else is either you make provision in your contract to understand and to deal with extraordinary geological situations, or to do some more investigations during construction. So thank you. I think now with the balance time, there is a comment from Mr. Imran Said. Thanks for encompassing the use of geological mapping and consequent projections that are invaluable in making geotechnical assessment. I think that is the last comment. And I go back to Mr. Deva again to you, if you wish to say or add something.
Nothing much. So we have completed this edition 7 of the open house. And Dhawan Saab, if I may take the liberty, so we can announce the next open house speaker.
Well, our next open house speaker would be Mr. Kapil. He will be speaking on latest techniques of geophysical investigations, and rather the state-of-the-art geophysical investigations, which are in vogue nowadays, particularly for investigation of tunnels. So the program would be scheduled in November, and it is on 7th November. Same time, I request everybody to please join us, and I'm really grateful to each one of you that you have spared your valuable time and you have come today, and please do join us during the next meeting also.
Thank you, Dhawan Saab. Thank you very much.
Well,
but
before that, please
yes.
allow me to have 1 minute about
Okay.
you, and
Okay.
then to thank our guest. You see, Mr. Deva, as I said, गागर में सागर भरते हैं, और इनकी यूएसपी ये है कि ये मुश्किल से मुश्किल चीज को बहुत आसान बनाकर कहने में बहुत माहिर है। जियोलॉजी जो अपने आप में इतना एक कॉम्प्लेक्स सब्जेक्ट, उस सब्जेक्ट पे आपने देखा कि इन्होंने राइट फ्रॉम बिगिनिंग, इंसेप्शन ऑफ जियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज to the construction, even he touched very briefly the TBM tunnels also. So DDAG, he is we are very lucky at DDAG, and we are very honored also that he is a part of us, and his guidance is available to us as a director of DDAG. Professional contributions of Mr. Deva is really appreciable. He started with GSI, served with wholehearted dedication to GSI, and he did well wherever he was deputed, particularly one of the projects of NHPC, Dulhasti, where he was the resident geologist, and I being a part of NHPC, we had a lot of appreciation and regard for him. Then he moved on to private sector and doing very well. He is one of the senior most, very active, professionally active engineering geologist in the private sector today. He served the profession through ICG for several number of years. He was Vice President Asia of International Association of Engineering Geology, and he has many more years to contribute to the profession. This year in November he will be turning 70. And DDAG will be celebrating his birthday. We will be inviting you all, and the best way to celebrate his birthday would be to have a webinar that day. So that's what we have not planned, but we will certainly work it out and circulate to each one of you. And no program is successful if the guests are not there, if the listeners are not there. And today I am really very happy that I can see very, very senior stalwarts, to begin with our own Dr. P.C. Navani, Dr. Prabhash Pandey, सिन्हा साहब, मेरे ट्रेनी डेज के मेरे गाइड हैं, सुपीरियर हैं, सलाल में इनसे हमने बहुत कुछ सीखा। मेरे MECL के कोलीग और मेरे प्रेडिसेसर Dr. A.K. Lomas, ex-CMD MECL. Then Mr. Jain Das, my own colleague and class fellow. M. Raju साहब हैं। M. Raju साहब को मैं सिर्फ लिस्ट में देख पा रहा हूँ, और मगर मैंने, राजू साहब अगर आप हैं तो एक हेलो तो बनती है। राजू साहब, कैन यू हियर मी?
साहब, डॉक्टर शारदा भी।
हाँ, डॉक्टर जी शारदा साहब का नाम है। अब मैंने कोशिश तो की है कि मैं सबके नाम ढूंढ सकूं, मगर इस लिस्ट में कभी कभी कुछ मिस हो जाता है। हमारे डॉक्टर YP शारदा साहब, देन अहमद साहब हैं दुबई से, और RN मिश्रा जी हमारे DDAG के मेंटर एंड फॉर्मर CMD SJVN, हमारे सुपर सीनियर श्री सुदीप दास गुप्ता जी हैं, ex-GSI, मेरे अपने कोलीग मिस्टर NK माथुर और मिस्टर इमरान सईद साहब हैं, देन रामाराव साहब हैं जो हमारे क्लाइंट भी हैं DDAG के, एंड देवा साहब ने इनके कई प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हैं मनु एनर्जी से, और मेरे NHPC के और भी बहुत सारे यंगर कोलीग्स हैं, मिस्टर पांडे, और आई कैन सी सेवरल फेसेस। और अगर मैंने किसी का नाम छूट गया हो मेरे से गलती तो मैं माफ़ी चाहता हूँ, और अगर ज़्यादा बेहतर होगा कि जो भी बताना चाहे कि वो आए हैं तो मुझे बता सकते हैं। अभी भी 1 मिनट का समय, और आप मुझे बता सकते हैं, चाहे हाथ खड़ा करके बता दें और चाहे मुझे चैट बॉक्स में बता दें। दयाल माथुर साहब हमारे प्रोग्राम डायरेक्टर हमेशा की तरह हैं। मेरे MECL के एक पुराने कुलीग मिस्टर मेहरोत्रा, और कभी मेहरोत्रा साहब जियोस्टैटिक्स का बड़ा योगदान इन्होंने किया है, अब ये किताब भी लिखी है, और मैं चाहता हूँ कि इंजीनियरिंग जियोलॉजी में भी इसका इस्तेमाल किया जाए, मगर अभी हम लोग तैयार नहीं है उस लिहाज से, बट आई थिंक हिज कंट्रीब्यूशन टू जियोस्टैटिक्स इज रियली अप्रिशिएटेड. सो with this we come to end of this program. Dhruva sir.
बस सर मैं एक थैंक यू बोल दूं और
जी.
My special thanks to our admin team for this program, Anirudh Bhattacharya, Shivani Khandelwal and Mugdha Patwardhan. To thank the team for conducting this program smoothly. It's very smoothly. So thank you once again. Let us thank everybody, and this is a formal goodbye for today's session, and we meet again next month on 7 with 8th edition of Open House. Thank you very much. Namaskar. This is a formal goodbye. If you want, we can stay back and chat. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
और बड़ा अच्छा लगा
Thank you, Ahmed साहब.
बहुत बढ़िया है सर.